Hey there, music lovers. Thank you so much for coming by this channel and for leaving all these great comments and subscribing and the thumbs up and the thumbs down. I love the interaction. Thank you so, so much. You know, this channel was named after Rush in many ways. It's called Rush Trader, in case you haven't noticed. And what's crazy is I haven't done a video about Rush in about a month. And I figure, why not do something? And, you know, if you have any ideas for any Rush-related videos, put them down below. I'll be glad to yap about it, all right? You know, Rush is a band that, you know, have inspired me in many, many ways. It's not just the music. As a matter of fact, you could hate Rush. You could hate Geddy Lee's voice, his bass playing. You don't give a shit about Neil Peart and his drums or his lyrics, and you hate Rush's music. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. That's not what this video is about at all. It's not about their songs or about their music. This is about them as a professional band, a band with a lot of integrity, which I'm starting to see and notice that there's not a lot of bands with that nowadays, especially as bands get older and people start to either die off or band members will retire or just flat out leave for whatever reason. We're starting to see what bands are made of, and I've talked about this before. For the most part, bands are businesses, and you know, if the lead singer quits or this guy quits, we're going to get somebody else in there and we're going to keep on going because there's money to be made. We got a summer tour that we got to do, and Rush is so far from that. You know, some of my other favorite bands, you know, I love Yes and I love Queen, but they are businesses. Whatever we got to do to get out there, whoever we got to put in there, we're going to put on the show. And you know, Rush is one of these bands that has been an inspiration to me in the way that they've handled themselves, the way that they've handled business and their image and their approach to their own craft. So I just wanted to share with you 5 things that I think are very, very cool and inspiring about Rush. And I can honestly tell you that I think Rush have made me a better person. And when I go through some of these, maybe you can see why. Okay, so number 1 on my list is going to be that Rush defied the record labels. You know, how many times have you ever heard of bands bitching and moaning that the record label kept busting their balls about, hey, we don't hear a hit. Where's your hit? You know, bands would give their record labels their new album that they just finished, and the record label's like, we're not putting this out. You know, I don't have a hit here, and, you know, all that stuff. Now, Rush got that kind of stuff after their 3rd album, Caress of Steel. You know, the record label was not happy with the fact that Rush were going into this progressive rock kind of territory. You know, they started off as a Zeppelin kind of band, and then when Neil joined, you know, they started, you know, on the 3rd album, the 2nd side was one long song, and the record label was not having it. That 3rd album, the tour, Rush even called it the Down the Tubes tour. It wasn't well received, and the record label wanted radio-friendly fare, and they pretty much told Rush, look, if you don't give us a, you know, radio-friendly album like Bad Company or something, we're going to drop you. So what does Rush do? They were like, fuck you, we're going to do things our way. And they put that 4th album out. This time around, the first side of the album was one long song, and that was 2112, and it kicked ass. It was their best album yet. It was very focused, it was tight, it was angry, and it reflected how they felt, the anger that they felt. And this was like, this was it. If 2112 did not work, that would have been their last album. They would have went back to their day jobs. And you want to talk about integrity and standing up for yourself. Extremely inspirational. And from that point on, nobody told Rush what to do. No record label pushed them around. Rush had earned it, and they did whatever they wanted, and they never sold out. All right, so number 2 on my list is going to be Rush having a very healthy, creative attitude. And by that, I mean this. You have a situation where Neil Peart not only plays the drums, but he writes the lyrics. And in turn, Geddy Lee, who's the bass player and the singer, has got to sing these lyrics. And so Neil will write these lyrics and give them to Geddy. And sometimes Geddy feels like, you know what, this is too much to sing. I don't want to sing all these words. Or maybe he doesn't feel the sentiment that's in the lyrics, and Geddy can't really sing a song that he doesn't believe in. And so he'll go back to Neil and say, look, I have a problem with this and this. Instead of Neil getting all defensive about it, Neil sees it as a challenge to make the song better. And there's no egos. And so everything worked great. And that is that's an inspiration, because it kind of teaches you to not take things personally and to not let your ego get in the way. And when somebody, and when you do something and somebody gives it back to you, don't look at it as a criticism or taking it personally. Look at it as a way to make things better. And that, to me, was just a game changer. That was very inspirational to see that kind of a working relationship going on. Okay, so number 3 on my list is going to be how Rush furthered their art. And by that I mean, they were always pushing themselves, always pushing the boundaries, trying to bring in new elements, whether it's new instruments, new textures. And something that was really impressive was how Neil, he's considered to be one of the best drummers in the world, in like Modern Drummer magazine. I don't know how many polls he topped by readers and fans as being the #1 drummer. Well, 20 years or so into his career, Neil decides, I got to take drum lessons. And so here's a guy who has been considered the master of his craft, thinking, I need to relearn things. I need to do things differently. That's just the way that he thought about things. And so he took drum lessons. He started to change his whole approach. He handled the drumsticks differently. I mean, what kind of drummer after 25 years decides I'm going to handle my drumsticks like a jazz drummer? And also I read about him changing the position of his drums. Instead of looking at them the same way for 25 years, he would take the drum over here and put it over there. Why? Because it forced him to approach it differently. To me, this was just so refreshing to see this kind of a thing. It's like, I can't tell you how many times in my own life when I've maybe felt like I hit a creative wall or I couldn't see how I could do things better. Just change everything. Switch things around, even if it's temporary. See if it jogs something creatively. It was very inspirational. And this was just, what I just talked about here was just a piece, just the tip of the iceberg. So many other ways that Rush was able to keep things fresh and just keep things moving so that it didn't sound like they were repeating themselves from the last album. All right, so number 4 on my list is going to be the Brotherhood of Rush and how they never left anyone behind, especially Neil in the late 90s when he lost his teenage daughter in a car accident. That was devastating. And then 6 months later, his wife dies. So Neil was devastated. He had no drive to write music or to play the drums or do anything. Rush was done. Neil even said, consider me retired. It's over. And Geddy and Alex never said, all right, well, we're going to get another guy and we're going to keep on going. The record label wasn't pushing it, or like the management. It wasn't going to happen. It wasn't going to happen. There was no Rush without Neil. You don't hear too many stories of bands sticking with one another. Usually it's like, yeah, we'll get a replacement and, we'll just finish this tour with somebody else. Not in Rush. If it's not the 3 of them, the show does not go on. And that is integrity, folks. And you do not see that much in this day and age. It is very, very rare. And as I've said before, as these bands all around us get older, we're starting to see what they're actually made of. Rush is a very rare breed. Okay, so closing out my list at number 5 of very cool Rush things is going to be how they ended in style. None of this farewell tour for 20 years bullshit, and none of this going on looking pathetic either. The only thing that you could say about Rush towards the end that was starting to show some wear was Geddy's voice. Otherwise, they were playing phenomenally. For a while there, I remember seeing Neil on the Time Machine tour. His playing was just off the charts. He was so fast and moving around the drum set like I hadn't seen in a long, long time. He was talking about how he felt like he was at the top of his game. The Clockwork Angels album he felt like was a highlight for him, like in terms of creativity, and he didn't feel like he could do anything better than that. So the R40 tour is not something that, which is the last tour, it didn't feel like something that he really wanted to do, but he went ahead and did it, and he was really in a lot of pain. He was crying in pain at the end of that tour, some of those shows. And so he decided, you know what, this is it. I don't want to keep on doing this. And there's even a movie, a documentary called Time Stands Still, which was about the last tour, which if you have not seen that and you're a Rush fan, you need to go check it out. It's a very bittersweet movie, and it's kind of sad because it deals with a lot of things ending, not just the band, but the roadies and the fans getting together, management, and all this, everything, all these cycles that would kind of kick in when Rush went on tour, everything kind of came to an end. And it was just a very bittersweet movie. But, that is Rush, integrity to the very, very end. This is a band that was, always defiant, always pushing boundaries, pushing their own creativity, defying the record labels. They never sold out. They controlled their image. They never oversaturated, never overstayed their welcome. They always pushed themselves to be better. And they were full of integrity. They never, ever thought about going on without one or the other. It was a three-piece band. It was Geddy, it was Alex, it was Neil, and it was either all of them or it was nobody. Never a replacement, never. And that's just not something that you see. And so, these things that I just talked about, these are some of the things that have really inspired me and have made me a better person, or at least made me want to be a better person and maybe see things in life differently. And I'm very, very glad that I became a fan, because it has really, touched me in ways that I never expected and in ways that I don't get from any other band. So I want to know what you think. What do you think about Rush? What do you think about these things that I just mentioned? Are there any other things that you feel are really, really cool about Rush that may have inspired you? Put it down below. Please comment. Let me know if there's any other Rush videos that you want me to make. I'll be glad to do them. And, thanks for coming by. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you like it, and hit subscribe. And I will talk to you later.